I've wanted to ask you this for years, and I never have. Um,
Okay.
why did you leave Orange County? I remember seeing you at Club 8.5 once, and I forget what show it was. May have been The Far Side, Course of Disapproval, Drift Again, Coldwater Crane. I just remember seeing you, and you were not happy, and you said, "If this keeps up, I'm leaving." And I remember going, "Okay." Then I'm thinking, "Okay, what's he talking about?" Because I kind of didn't know, but I kind of did know. Like I just I. So how come? Because it seemed like Dave's here, a mainstay, and then Dave's gone.
Yeah. Uh, Quite honestly, I was battling. I didn't know it at the time, but I was battling pretty bad depression
Mm-hmm.
these last couple years in California, and I just needed a change. Like I needed out of Orange County. I had thought of moving to the Bay Area possibly because I had some friends up there. Um, just moving somewhere. I didn't know where. And then a good friend of mine from New Jersey was staying with me on a, he was on a road trip. He was staying with me, and he mentioned that he might have an inn for a rent controlled apartment in New York City, like in Queens area. And but he just needed a roommate, didn't wasn't sure who. And I said, I'll do it. And that fell through that apartment, but that got the ball rolling of just like, all right, I'm out of here. And it was a very natural feeling. I don't feel I miss my friends there, but I see pictures of Huntington Beach. I see that stuff. I just get shivers of like, oh, I don't like it.
You know what's interesting is like as far as like Huntington goes, like I've always been like the proud Fountain Valley guy, and like that was always sort of like a joke, like I'm from Fountain Valley, because people that are not from here, or even people that are here, it's like, oh well, it's so close, it's basically Huntington Beach, and I would always say no, no, it's
No, it's
not,
not.
but especially the way that Huntington is now, and just with everything with COVID and all the Trump related stuff. And obviously that's a generalization. Not everyone
Yeah,
is like that. But I just it's one of those things that how do I put this? It sort of makes me happy that I always sort of flew the flag for Fountain Valley, going like I never like embraced the I'm from Huntington Beach. Just but even
yeah,
before that, I remember like the whole culture of welcome to HB, now go home. Like why?
yeah, yeah. So it was very exclusionary in some ways, and it's also one thing that people forget is that Orange County, Southern California is such a liberal bastion in the minds of people outside the area, but Orange County is a bastion, is actually a bastion of it's Richard Nixon country,
Right, right.
It's conservative as fuck. It's got, home associations that'll fine you for having your trash cans visible from the street, and you can't paint you can't do shit with your lawn, you can't do, it's like it's conservatism, and that's part of the reason why I think punk rock exploded there. But yeah, it's not the cool town that everybody kind of tries to play it up to be.
Did you when you moved? Because at one point I heard that in addition to your photography and stuff like that, you were also making microchips. Is there any truth to that rumor that you were like making microchips for computers or something?
No, my first job in New Jersey was screen printing circuit boards.
Okay, so
So that's all
close,
it
so
was.
close,
Yeah,
close.
it's close. Basically, like how when you look at a circuit board, it's green.
Yeah.
It's got like the letters. I basically made that green, and I would screen print like the letters and numbers
So
and shit on it.
you're the reason why like engineers then or whoever's putting those components parts in those things, they know where they go because you had been screen printing them.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
that's
my first
rad.
job out there. Hold on, I'm gonna change my shirt because I know this shirt's a grubby shirt. So
No, 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 no.
I'm gonna represent my dead friend.
Oh, cool, 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 cool. I mean, not obviously not cool that they're not around, but cool that you're doing that. Look at that Wally George thing. I just noticed that in the background.
I pulled that off of a telephone pole.
Oh, like how long ago? Decades?
Yeah, this is mid '80s, probably.
I actually have, believe it or not, his book.
Nice.
He
I don't think the show. I don't think the show actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a squabble over who was gonna headline or some shit like that. That's what I heard. I don't know if it, how true that is.
Were you
yeah, I've always been a liar, so.
when you left though? Did it? Oh, here I'm sorry. Did you want to tell me something?
The old K-Rock.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know if that's what that said actually, but because first I thought it said KDOC. Because remember that was Wally's station.
Oh yeah.
So
it's K-Rock presents Wally and some punks.
Oh man, see that's the thing is Wally was so interesting in that way because he framed himself as one thing, but he was clear. I think more than anything, and I mean I think he was obviously conservative, but I think more than anything, he was like a showman that
definitely.
that I mean, but that's the thing is like a guy like that back in those days, you know, you see a guy like that and you'd be like, okay, like he's that. If he would ever have tried to run for president, it would have been laughable. Like nowadays, a guy like that could potentially be a serious contender, and I mean, he could utilize social media. I mean, you know, and I'm not trying to be negative or delve too much into politics, but I think we both know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's a cult of personality more so than anything else.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to be good at anything. I think the second George W. Bush was a good example of that. He was a failed businessman. He left the military, and they portrayed him as this good old boy Texas rancher. The only reason he sold that ranch that he had as soon as he left the White House, all he did was clear brush and mountain bike on it. You know, it was all just image.
Right.
And yeah, that Wally George image then was laughable, but you know, I mean, people like Chris Christie and you know, Roger Stone and all these people, they've made a living off of it now.
When you left Orange County, so you've never come back, obviously. Oh, I mean, you know, maybe you visited or whatever, but
I think I've been back only twice.
Did you so then it obviously did the trick. Like leaving was what you need. Like it wasn't like go away for a bit and come back. Like it really did the trick.
Yeah, it was the best thing I could have done. I think I grew as a person, as an individual. I learned much more about myself. I kind of came to terms with having depression and battling it, knowing when to battle it, and yeah, it's just it was the best thing I could have done. I mean, I think I've been back maybe 3 times, and it's usually just real quick trips to see family. It's like because I have my parents are divorced, so I'd spend a couple days like in the Long Beach area with my mom, and then I'd go out to Palm Springs area with my dad, and then it's all right out.
Gotcha. And thank you. Also,
I want to try to come back soon, like maybe next year or something, and have more of a Orange County friend, like to see you, go back to Rev, you know, and see Mandel and see, you know, a lot of good people that, you know, the people I miss.
We should make a thing of I mean, here this is me just always thinking of content, but it's like we should make a thing of you walking into Rev for like the first time. Because remember, we worked at Rev at that. Like we worked together.
Yeah.
You and I moved the warehouse along with Isaac and whoever else Jordan got to.
Yeah. Who do we have? Mandel, definitely.
I think we had John Nutcher. I think we had the Nut. I think. Yeah, I'm trying. Dude, there wasn't a lot of us, and that's the thing is, I remember Jordan staring at the warehouse when we got in there, and Jordan looking around and going. Because it was huge, and Jordan goes, but nothing had got in. He goes, "Is it going to be enough space?" And I remember thinking, like, I hope so, because I don't want to do this again.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because it's probably small for them now.
Oh, right. Well, and also, I also wanted to say, you know, going back to the depression thing that you'd mentioned, thank you for talking about that. Just because, like, I mean, we all. I think, everybody. I think everybody deals with that to varying degrees every day in some way. And it's just, I'm just saying, like, the fact that you recognized, hey, this is going on with me, and I can either stay here and not be happy, or I can leave and take a chance on being happier. Like, that's a big, I mean, that's a huge step. I mean, that would be, I don't know that I could do something like that. So I'm like in awe of your like boldness.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because I didn't quite see it that clearly. I was just like, this sucks. I need out. And then this opportunity just presented itself and was like, all right. And at no point did it feel awkward or anything. And it was like only years later that I come like, I was probably one pretty depressed motherfucker those last few years. And like I was not always pleasant to be around in those last couple years.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I would say that more than anything, the Dave that I met in 1992 versus the Dave 1994, 1995. Because what year did you finally leave?
February of 97.
I just would say that the Dave that I had known, it was more of a guy that kind of just lost his smile. Like that's what you were showing me outwardly. Like you just, don't get me wrong, you would laugh and you would, but I'm just saying, like, you were more insular at that time. Like, people were hanging out, whereas you'd been one of the guys hanging out. You just weren't. And I just always, like, I always knew, like, you and Popeye were really good friends. And then, like, I mean, Popeye even told me, like, being on tour with you, like the first Farside tour, like just like having you there was like awesome for him. Like it really like, helped him and, just, deal with being on his first tour. So.
Yeah, that tour was amazing. But yeah, I've always been socially awkward. I'm always kind of the person who will withdraw from a crowd, or like.
I'm the exact same way. Believe it or not, yeah. I'm the exact same way. Yeah.
But you're more outgoing, where I'm like more of an introvert. So it's kind of like I'll kind of hide in the shadows a little more.
But that's why you and I would talk in the shadows. Like if you remember, like I would come over and we would like, and yeah.
Yeah, we bonded in the shadows.
Exactly. What was being on that first Farside tour like? Because that was off the 7-inch, and I don't think Rochambeau would come out yet, right?
No, it didn't come. I don't think it hit the streets until we got back. So we were gone for 6 weeks.
Off of a 7-inch.
Yeah, on the 7-inch. We had a couple shows canceled early. I know one was in Kansas. It's at the Outhouse, which is kind of bums me out because it was kind of a big club, or not an important club in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
It was like out in this cornfield in the middle of nowhere, and Farside was supposed to play there, and it was, I think that club closed like a day or two before, and that's why the show was canceled. So I never got to go to that club. But the shows were just sparsely populated for the most part.
Popeye went blonde.
Yes, he did right before. I came across a couple negatives. I was like, oh, I gotta scan these and post these.
Please do.
Yeah, it was pretty sparsely populated. It was awesome because we had, Rob had done some touring, but we had nobody else. Everyone else was like first time out in a lot of these places. We had Mark Hayworth basically was like the tour manager. Not that we knew what that was, but he was basically, he guided us. He was super experienced, and he just like showed us the way, kept us all in line. Like
he's great at that. Great at that. Just great at taking the reins and doing it, and just like if you followed his lead, you pretty much knew things were going to be okay. You may not always love it, but you knew that you were going to be okay, it seems. Because I was on a tour with him later, and so I saw that side of him that you're talking about.
Yeah, and he was great because it didn't feel like he was in charge, but he was definitely, like, looking back now, he was definitely like, come on, boys, let's go. And he was great. and it was awesome. We had a few shows canceled on us in like Pacific Northwest, but I remember, I mean, one of my fondest memories from that tour is walking around downtown Seattle on July 4th, lighting off fireworks, and it was kind of rainy and cool. It was like, oh, it's just so fucking neat. It was so
Right,
cool.
right.
Yeah, you know, and Farside played the Satyricon, an iconic club here in Portland. So that was kind of neat. Nobody was there, unfortunately, but it's like, yeah, I got to be there too, you know. Yeah, it was an absolute blast. It was an educational. Learned a lot about myself. Learned a lot about the country. So I remember one time, I think it was in Arkansas, maybe. We were coming out of some little health food restaurant. These two kids were sitting in a car, and because some of us had both ears pierced, they just looked at us and go, "You guys, a bunch of faggots." You know, it's just like, whoa, like the hatred, the
Right.
instant hatred from just being. We didn't think we looked any different. That was the other thing. We thought. Remember in Colorado or something, the Denny's waiter was like, walked up to take our order and goes, "So where are you boys from?" And I remember Popeye going, "Is it that obvious?" You know, we didn't think we stood out. We were just normal hardcore kids, but we were like massive. In 1992, we were massive sore thumbs walking around middle America.
Oh man, oh man, yeah, yeah. In the I mean, I haven't done a ton of touring, but in a little bit of the touring, and then being in the South with 108, like we would have probably stood out. But then having Vic there, Vic Takara, you know, Hare Krishna, the Sika, like that was. I mean, nobody said what they said. Well, they sort of did. It's kind of in the documentary. You'd have to see it, but
I watched it.
oh, okay. There wasn't a hate like it. The word is hateful, but it wasn't said in a way like that the guy was being hateful. So it was just a different situation than a guy just randomly that you've had no interaction with sitting in a car and just popping off and saying that word to you just because like I have a problem when I hear that, and like I like work on a school campus and I'll hear kids say it and I turn around and I don't even have to say anything. I just give them a look. And
Yeah,
I'm so not known for ever having that look that I think it carries just a little bit of weight. Maybe not much, but just a little bit. So yeah. Um I wanted to ask you, you did pictures for the head first layout. Which ones did you do, or was that Drew Charlson that did the cover of the Burning Deal?
that was all Drew Charlson. I think they just used a photo of Kevin Murphy that I had made. I think that was the only photo on there that is mine. I
Okay, and
think.
then okay, no, continue. I'm sorry.
I think that was I. Yeah, I think it was only the picture of Kevin because he had that shit written on him. I can't remember what
Right,
it said.
right, right. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I think that was the only picture I think I have on that record. But yeah, it was just kind of like a lot of times when I've had a photo on a record, just kind of gave the photos and then they used them or not.
And then you would see the record, or you would buy
Yeah,
buy the record and be like, oh,
yeah.
I
Or
I did this.
sometimes, I mean, back then we were all friends and seeing each other on a regular basis. That it would be like, oh, we're gonna use your photo. Oh, cool. It was always, it's always a massive honor to when anybody thought enough of my photos to use them for the record. But there's times like looking back, I think I had I got photos on records probably due to being in close proximity with the bands and the labels more than maybe some better photographers. You know,
Well,
because like I was just
I
like
wouldn't
I was
say that. I
contingent.
wouldn't say that.
You
No,
know, like
because
I
Dave, there was people that they could have called, or I'm saying if it was as easy as just clicking a button, they could have.
yeah
I mean, you were sought out. I remember specifically you being sought out to take pictures. Like, I mean, I know you did the Far Side one of them when they were in J.C. Penney's or something, or wherever.
that one.
Yes, you
Jordan took
did.
that.
The one with the bunk beds.
Nope, Jordan took that photo.
Ah, so which one for
Jordan
the
took
Far
that.
Side? Was that one of like one of?
I think the live photos of them, I took those.
Okay,
But
cool,
yeah,
cool.
Jordan took that photo.
And then
I
now,
remember it's mentioned on that Where It Went podcast.
you went and listened. Good boy, good boy.
I gave it a listen, and yeah, that's misremembered. That was Jordan who took that photo.